Oh,
We're live. Hi. Tammy. Yes, Tammy, I have an answer for you. You were his mother in Scotland. Tammy, I read her one other time and we got Scotland and not much else, but I pulled something today and she got mother. Um, anyway, thank you all for coming to visit us in the Oracle Garden. I'd like to introduce you to Sue, who is basically a civilian in the world of psychics. And then there's a dozen cats for me. That's Kelly. And she has a channel. And we had another brave soul who tried to come on, but her internet was extremely unstable. And she's hopefully listening at home. And she has a question. So when you hear me read about Rebecca, that's the lady. And we tried for over half an hour to get her stuff stabilized, and we couldn't. But anyway, we're here, and we're going to talk about past lives. And we're going to do this for the minute. You're going to look at me instead of the garden. The way we're going to work it is I'm going to work with Sue. I'm going to work with Kelly. And I'm going to get. Uh, it's okay. It's alphanumeric 1. Okay. And she's in the chat, and she was just having trouble holding on to her internet connection. And we're going to see how many people show up. And we've got 5 so far. Basically, I'll go into kind of what we're going to be doing because it takes a little bit of time to do one of these readings. If you have a quick question, type it in capital letters so that I can go find it. I'm using StreamYard now, so I can put your questions up on the screen. But we're really doing the okay. Okay, get out of that. Oops, I don't know what I did with my chat comments. Okay, go to the comments. Okay. I lost I'm not used to this control panel yet. Well, people are starting to come in, and that's good because I kind of like to not have to keep saying the same explanation over and over again. But this thing that I am now going to put in the center of the screen, I did not invent this. I work with the lady who's invented it. This is her prototype. This was the first shot we had at working with it. It comes with a pendulum, which I use to figure out male or female, or other. Sometimes it goes in circles, just like now. Um, and I swing it over here. One of the things we found out is the chain she put on is too short. So the new chain, she's got, I think, 12 of them made now. It'll come with a longer chain so it can swing out into the zodiac here. And she gave it to me and said, figure out how to use it. And she used words I had used in past life readings. She and I had some ideas of how it ought to work, but we're still in the process of trying to come up with a 1-page thing so you can buy one and use it at home and read your friends and have a party. So that's where we are. The pendulum is tiger's eye, and it's a really beautiful, beautiful tiger's eye. The ancestor stones are amber, which is that little bitty piece. Amber is incredibly light. Amber almost feels like plastic if you've never handled it, because it is petrified. It's metamorphized tree sap, and it is so light it will float in water, and that's how they mine it. I don't know where she got this amber. She got it from a woman in Ohio, but the woman had gotten a whole lot of it. The amber I have a bag of amber that a friend brought back to me from Estonia, and he and what happens in the Baltic Sea is when they have earthquakes, it loosens the amber up out of the rocks and it floats to the surface, and the fishermen just go out and catch it in nets. That's how light it is. But this is a real piece of amber. The way you can check amber, if you think, did I get amber or did I get plastic? Amber will burn. It will burn, and it also, if you rub it a little bit, it'll get warm, and then you can smell your finger, and it'll smell like tree sap because it's pine tree sap. Okay. The other piece of stone that we throw in here that's an ancestor stone, and these are ancestor stones because they were a living thing. They didn't come from rock. Okay. So this is petrified wood, and I swear it must be redwood. It's the darkest wood, but when you really see it up close, you can see the wood grain in it. That's petrified wood. So those are two of the stones that we throw in this garden. And then we throw in citrine for values and quartz for clarity. So the two stones that sort of establish your ancestral part, or what you're learning from that life, are these two stones. And these are the ones that, what are you clarifying in this life? These are this life stones. That's to the best of my ability, and as far as I've gotten with understanding how to interpret that part of the garden. And I've run several mock classes where we just tried to read what people had going on around them. And we're going to start now. And okay. We're going to do Sue. Do you want to start with you, or you want Kelly to go first?
No, it's okay with me.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to find out was, and I always find a pendulum works better if I swing it in a circle. And I want to know, in this past life, was Sue a male or a female? She was female, and I'll tell you how I can tell that. She swings sort of over into male, but she swings way over into female. So that's how I can read. So you're a female. And if y'all can sort of help write this stuff down, because when I get going, I lose things, when I'm reading. So I'm going to get that you're a female. And now we're going to try and find out the time frame in which she was born. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is yes for me, and this is no. So that's what I'm going by. Okay. Was Sue born before the year 1000? No. Okay. Was Sue born between 1000 and 1500? Yes. Okay. Was she born between 1000 and 1100? Okay, you were born in the 1100s. Was she born between 1000 and 1050? No. Was she born between 1050 and 1050 and 1100? Yes. Okay. She born in 1060s. A child of the 60s. And you were a child of the 60s. Okay. So we've got that you're a woman, and you were born in about 1060. Interesting time. Okay, we're going to see. I'm going to start asking for Europe first. Was she born in what we call Europe now? Okay, yes. Because that's what I saw, was Europe. In my head, I saw that picture. And you can use the images you get as you're connecting to this energy when we're working with it. Okay, now, what was her connection to her ancestry? What was going on in her family life? It was a lot like this life. Okay. Was her family wealthy? Yes, you had power. You were born into a wealthy family. And it was a lot like you took some of the paths you took in this life. So we'll see how that works. Okay, now, what does she need clarified in this life? This is the quartz stone. What does she need clarified in this life? Release. You need to release some of the patterns you've carried forward from these different lives. And this is the values. What are your values going to turn? How is your values being affected by this past life? Okay, it says you're tied to the ancestors, so. Okay, let's see. If you were born around 1060, probably you are a mature person in 1070, because you kind of go up like 15 to 18 years, considering the period of time you're in. I'm going to throw the stones and try to get a whole map of what your life was like. Oh, you were a Leo. You fell into Leo. There are people in your life now, people that are in your soul family now that were from that soul family. You're still connected to them. What you're doing in this life is handling enlightenment, and for a female, you're becoming a more enlightened within the female form. I'm going to ask another yes, no. Did Sue marry in this life? No. Okay. Then I think I got an impression earlier. Did Sue take vows in this life? You're a nun.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
And I think let's see. I'm going to put these two together. Did Sue want to be married in that life? No, because the power in her family was an imbalance, and she wanted to escape the fate of her ancestors. So I think you lived in an area where it was safer to go into the nunnery. Yeah, the 1060s were a very turbulent time all over the world, especially in Europe. I mean, well, actually all over the world. Let's see. I think, okay, I'm going to see if you became like the abbess or if you were just a good little nun. What was it like for her in the nunnery? You went there because you could have your own free will there without being tied to other people. And you had it, once again, so it's clarification of power. And your ancestor stone landed right in the middle, which means this was a very anchoring, pivotal life for you. I think you've always tended to, what I would get from her is she wanted to get away from, she wanted power. It didn't end up being everything she thought it would be, but she had more of her own free will. She could be who she wanted to be being there. Is that kind of enough? Do you think we've gone far enough? If you play,
That sounds really.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. It sounds. It feels right.
Okay.
It does. Mm-hmm.
And it says this life you're breaking out of a lot of the molds that you created back then. I think you've been a bit of a joiner and a bit of a, and fallen into clubs and things. And remember, the one stone you got on here was that you were here to help with learning to be female. So, but she went there because, like a lot of women did, they didn't want to be married.
Yes.
Mostly because if you had a powerful family, you weren't picking who you were marrying either.
Oh, yes. I'm getting confirming chills right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think the get thee to a nunnery was more for you. Oh yeah, let me get there and get the hell out of here.
Hmm.
Well, good. A lot of
Huh.
mystics.
Well,
There were a lot of
thank
mystics,
you.
psychics in that time. Okay. Let's see, Miss Kelly.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm trying to watch for questions. I'm just not seeing anything in capital letters. So um, you're not late, dear. Trust me. I give everybody time to get in here. Hi. You can actually, Jean, she has these, she's got it with a longer chain. The only thing she doesn't have is the write up from me telling you how to make it work. And I'm sorry for my crappy camera, but I have a good camera that StreamYard guaranteed me I could run and have work with my other main camera. And I tried to do it this morning, and I lived in feedback hell for about 15 minutes. Yes, Melissa, you can read your own lives, not just others.
Nancy, do you have in the description box? Do you have how to contact Alma to get these? If someone is
She hasn't given me a thing. If you just have to, it's the same old stuff I normally do. You have to send it through me, and
Okay.
I'll get it to her. But I'm there for her to get this all out and to get it working. She's got a lot of cool stuff. Okay, now. Okay. Was Kelly a male or a female in the past life? Oh, male. You're not even hardly going into female at all. So Kelly was male. Okay. Now we're going to do the boring part, figuring out when you came in. Okay. Was Kelly born before the year 1000? No. Okay. Now I can do this again. Okay. Was Kelly born between 1000 and 1500? Okay. Was Kelly born between 1500 and 2000? Well, I know this. I mean, this incarnation of Kelly, not the. Yes. Okay. Okay. Was she born in between 1500 and 1600? No, I bet you're going to be between 16 and 17 because it was close. Was she born between 1600 and 1700? $1600 to $1700. Okay. 16 to 1610. Okay, that was a no. 1610 to 1620. 1610 to 1620. Okay. $1611. Okay, that's no. 1612.
we should have a pool going on in the chat.
Bet on this. 1612. Yay! It's a boy. 1612. Okay. And so you would be a mature adult by 1622. That's adding 20 years on your birthday. Okay. Let's see. That's the other question I'm going to ask because I just heard maybe you shouldn't say that so quickly. Did Kelly reach maturity? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's during plague times, though. So, okay. Did she die in the plague? This is a weird question, but it's the one I got. Did she die in service with a knight? You were a page. You were a knight's squire, a young person training to be a knight. Okay, so she's a squire.
Well, look at that.
Look at that, Kelly. Okay, let's see. And in case you guys say, where's she pulling those things from? I hear voices in my head, and they don't give me pills for it, so I continue to hear them. Look at the layout of Kelly's life. The short, sad life of Kelly. You were an Aries. You were male, and you were attached to this older male. And your clarity, the stone, man, it landed weird. It landed on its least favorite side, but right in the middle, but it was pointing to younger. I think you were in service to someone that was in your family, but you were a little warrior. Let's see. How did Kelly die? You got stones in the middle again. You've carried the trauma of this life into this life. You've carried the trauma of him, and he was wounded in a battle, and he didn't die peacefully. But he loved what he was doing, and he looked upon it as a grand adventure. Is this in Europe? It's your destiny. And it's one reason why you keep coming back female, because you realize you're not going to do wacky shit like that. And you carry the lesson from that into this life from the past life, and you are tied, you are in a soul family with some of the ancestors from that life.
Interesting.
So think about your life now, and Libra. Okay, I'm going to answer a question for Libra lady. When you ask about the year you're born, I'm asking about this specific life. You have a whole ton of them. And, I'm just saying, if you were a woman in this period of time or a man in this period of time. And okay. And Karen Johnson said, it's like what I'm saying to Kelly now. You take in that information. When you were a kid, were you a bright, adventurous kid that went out and charged at everything? Because that would be that squire energy, learning to go out there and fight for yourself. And but part of what's going on in this life is you're learning how to be female, and you're learning to live with your destiny. And I think that's partly why you're getting into the psychic part of this, is to understand destiny and how we tie into our destiny. If what they say about the astrologic charts is true, then that young man chose to come into a life that would be brief.
Yeah, true. It's also interesting that I am a fire sign, and I was a fire sign. So not that means anything, but it is interesting. And I'm also, you said that when I reached maturity, it was 1622.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that I'm a life path number 22.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
Yeah. And if you're born, did you have anyone, like a yes/no question we could ask about him?
Well, you asked if I died in the plague, right?
I said, did you die in the plague? And it said
and
no.
the answer was no. Yeah.
It was that you died in battle.
In battle. I guess did I have any siblings? Was I like an only child, or did I have siblings?
Oh.
Did the young squire have siblings that got left in the family? Yes. And that may have been why he was a squire, because even if his family had relative wealth, if he was a primogenitor where they give everything to the first son, the second son The
Yeah.
first son got the land. The second son went to the church, and the third son became a soldier.
Right. So can we ask if I was like
Younger sibling, you were one of the younger ones? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm asking if you were younger. Yes.
Interesting.
So you were training to go to be what you were going to be?
So basically I was in constant training is what I'm getting from that, right? Always
Yeah, you
like
serve
one step behind
the
everybody
night.
else.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't get in those suits armors by themselves. You
Mhm.
served the night. You helped in that whole milieu. You served. You were a person of service, but you were serving it to learn how to become who you would become, and you just got caught in a battle, which makes sense because before we came, I used the past life cards I told you about, and I said, "What people am I going to run into?" And it says knights, monks, and people who take vows.
Wow.
And the other one I said is, how did this affect people? It said how they view their finances. One was involved in wars and battles, and that they learned to not live competitively, but to live communally. So for both you did communal living with the nuns, and she lived a life of battle.
Okay. Could I ask
Sure.
a question about that life?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was I psychic or a healer of any kind?
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to see what your role was in the nunnery. Well, they did nothing but sing and pray. So, you kind of get into a psychic mode if you do that. Okay, what did you do? You were up front. Your clarity fell off the charts. You wanted the free will over here, but ancestrally you were tied by the limiting beliefs of the church. So some of what you wanted to do, you couldn't do, and you belonged to a order of nuns that was predominantly presided over by males. In other words, they were attached to a monastery or to a church institution, or they served a church institution.
Oh. How did I pass in that
Okay.
lifetime?
Okay, let's see. Try the stones, and if we don't get that, if it doesn't make much sense to me, I'll go to the pendulum. With you were completely withdrawn from life, but it was a great release for you. You'd found some power in the enlightening things you wanted, but it was an imbalance, but you died peacefully. I don't see anything on here that would say
Okay.
you didn't die peacefully.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think you died far from your family because the stone that ties you to your family rolled all the way off the garden, and I went, oh God, where did it go?
Oh no.
Outer space. I think you died peacefully. I don't feel anything I think you died understanding there's a lot of imbalance in the world, but I think you found much of the beliefs that you were tied to limiting. I'm going to ask one more question for you. Okay. Did Sue come from a family of healers? No, your families weren't healers. There were in communities people who were the healers.
Okay.
Okay. And I had a couple questions.
Tammy said in the chat, Nancy Jean, that she wondered if that is my past life indicates my anxiety that I have now, and I'm like, I think it absolutely does speak to that. 100%. It is so interesting when you uncover these past lives, and you can find parallels and points that sort of lead you to the current life. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And Libra lady, when you ask about the year you were born, would that be the first incarnation or any incarnation? It's the incarnation that's tied to the energy I've gotten at that time. I know a couple different ways to look up past lives, and there's readings. There's this deck of cards I found that are incredibly expensive if you can find them. It's Doreen Virtue and Brian Weiss. It's a deck they created years ago. I found it one day really cheap in a used bookstore, so I picked it up. But if you go online, you're going to find out it costs like $100 plus bucks, because it's got Doreen Virtue's name on it, and she doesn't do cards anymore. So, and you can pull cards from that. I use a regular deck of cards. I use a reading called a Spirit 7, which I've done, which is kind of what's tied to this past life. What I think is fun about this, and I've actually done this at one time when I was out with some friends, we played with it, and they ask all kinds of questions, and we did yes nos. We were figuring out what the stones meant when they landed in all the different spaces, and it's a great, fun, intuitive way to get yourself used to doing this. And this is Melissa. So you can read this for your own lives, not just for others. I actually can, Melissa. I played with it a little bit, and I saw some stuff, and what happens is when you do that, you open up paths, and while you may not see it that clearly right at the moment, you'll feel it different. Like I think Sue, I think your name in that life was Hildegard.
Oh.
So.
Oh, okay.
But and on a banana, I've never tried it. I've never tried to specifically ask about your first incarnation. I don't see why you couldn't if you really wanted to. I tell you, the feeling I get about this is it really speaks to earthly lives. I don't think it's ET lives. So, well, it depends on what your first incarnation was. And let me ask that as a yes, no. Okay, board, tell me. Could someone using you direct you to tell them what their first incarnation was? It says yes, you could put that intention into a reading. And let's see if anybody else. And there was another person who was supposed to be with us, but her internet was very unstable. So she asked me to read about her, and I know she's in the chat room. So we're going to ask if Rebecca was a male or female, and I'll get like no feedback from Rebecca about how this sounds, because we couldn't keep her on the chat. I mean, in the studio. Oh, girl, you've been female for a long time. You're way up here. Okay, was Rebecca in this life we're looking at, was she born before the year 1000? Yes. Oh, you're an oldie. Was she born in the first century, 100? 0 to 100? No. Was she born between 100 and 200? You were born in between 100 and 200, so let me write this down so I don't forget it. Was she born before 250? This will cut this down a little bit. I'm trying to figure a way to get this to cut down. Nope. Was she born between 250 and, no, between 150 and 200? Okay. She born in 150 to 160? 160 to 170. Okay, she's born between 160 and 170. She born in 161. She born in 162. Okay, you have a winner. It's a baby girl, 162. So you add 20 years to that, and it means about 182. Was she born in the Mediterranean area? Yes. I think I know where you were born. Let's see. What was her family structure like? Tied to the ancestors. Very tied to the males in her family. Her values, her whole thing was you'd had lives before this life and you were coming to finish this one out. What influence did her family have on? Was her family rich or poor? Man, what I'm getting from this, I'm getting that you were very tied to the men in your family, and were her family fishermen? Yes, and that's where they got the release. And where'd the other one go? It's off the board. Okay, yes, your family had a lot of power, and you lived in a fishing village, and you were on the Mediterranean. And what I'm really feeling is Greece, ancient Greece. And you were very, very tied to the males in your family. I'm going to take that off. Right. Okay. Did you ever get married? Because I'm starting to think something happened to this family. They didn't let her go. Wait a minute. I think in that family, you ended up taking care of the males in the family, and you never got married. You just took care of them. That was your job. They didn't let you go. And I'm going to ask one more really weird yes, no. Okay. Was she a psychic in that life? Okay. Did she live to be an old woman? Okay. Did she become the matriarch of the village? Because you keep rolling into power, but it keeps seeing you tied to these males. Yes, you were the wise woman. You became the sort of grandmother to everybody in that village. Because you never had children of your own, so the village became your children. Have you? I can't ask her this, but oh, she wants to know if she ever had any great loves. Okay. Did she have a star-crossed romance? Let me miss that. Yes. Yes, you did. And maybe you didn't get married because you never wanted to, because you never met anybody that floated your boat like the first sailor you fell in love with. But I think if where I'm feeling this, you may have this showing up in your life this time, is you've tended to bring a lot of people into mother. and recreated that life. Do you get that feeling too, Kelly?
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Elaine, I've not asked that question, or have left on this planet. I've been talking with Robert Brunias about, he's the Akashic Records guy, Akashic Bob, and he has been saying that what they're getting in the records now is that a lot of the karma we carried forward is just going to go away. That the cleansing we're going through and the ascension will clear it up. So we won't be so tied to how many lives we've had. But I don't, and in theory, in the Akashic Records, it's all time and dimensions. So you should be able to get in there and figure out how many more you have left. I have enough trouble with this one, so or I deal with it. Let's see.
That was a great question that Rebecca had about the great loves.
Yes.
I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, Melissa, Melissa wants to know if I'll do a quick reading on her with this.
You've got tons of those in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then I really hate, I mean, I love Melissa to death, but I really hate to do that if people have been saying that, because
I'll see if I can help you figure out where they are. Bear with me here.
I'm going to do, it's going to be really, really quick. And what I'm going to use is, I'm going to use the past life oracle cards, because I'm really bored with swinging over the centuries. I can't tell you. Okay, we're going to pull 3 cards and see what we pull up for Melissa's life. I think this board, when you learn it, the problem is you guys got to understand, I know cards. I can read cards almost any which way they come up. But it's like my own garden. I have to think it through all the time. You are an authority figure. You're a Native American. And there was food and hunger. I think you were the head of a tribe that went through during the times that the Americans, the Europeans decided it was their land, the grand adventure. And you were in charge of your people in that time. Let's see, how did it come out? How did it come out for you? You had a spouse. I don't see. They took your trust and faith. So I'm pretty sure that was during the 17 or 1800s.
Nancy Jean, you have Karen Johnson asking, I would love info on a past life that is affecting me now. That's like way up in the chat at 2:22 my time, so 1:22 your time.
Okay, I can see him. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. What I learned when I learned about past lives from the astrologer who taught me about it, so I learned it from that perspective, was you have a lot of them back there, and there's kind of a theme that can run through some of them. But primarily in this life, you're working on 2 or 3. You're trying to kind of solve those problems. So if you want to know about I'm going to go to a method I know works for that specific question for Karen. And honest to God, guys, this is so much fun to work with, but it just takes friggin' forever. And if you're just focusing on one person, it's great, but my brain's running out of steam. So I'm going to go back to where I started from, my old tarot deck. And also for you who want to know, before we started this whole thing, I meditated this morning and came up with some ideas of things I was going to read about. And I pulled cards that basically kind of told me a lot of what I saw right now. But before I did that, I'd done the violet flame to clear out the atmosphere where I am and make sure everything was clean. And before I use the pendulum, I always ask, do I have permission to use this? I'm in touch with my higher spirit, and is it safe? Because pendulums are a little bit. When I learned about pendulums, I was learning about Ouija boards, and I never did do Ouija boards, thank God, but I did do pendulums. So we're asking about Karen's past life. This is what I call a spirit 7, and this is how you can do readings with on past lives with tarot. And I'll explain this all to you when you get it laid out. Okay. This was the life you had. And this is the life you're living right now and what you need to do. And the fact that it's transition is upside down in the middle. This is kind of where you are with resolving this past life. And this shows that you haven't made all the changes you need to make yet. In that past life, you didn't have very much love. You were actually, I bet you this stuff in Ukraine's making you crazy, because whoever this poor person was, they were a refugee. They were driven away from where they should have lived, been left to live. And in the olden days, man, that wasn't like you could take a train back in a few weeks. You know, it was like you were gone, you were gone. And it split your whole family up. It split you up from everyone you knew that you were close to, all of your family. So how has that been reflected in this life? You've always felt like you walked away from something and you're not sure what. I'll show you the card because you can't really see it, but you feel like her, like you're walking away and you're taking what you can get. So that's what you're settling for. But you've kind of had enough of that in this life. You're ready to throw this burden down. You want to get rid of it. But I don't know you, Karen, for anything. And this is for entertainment purposes only. Don't sue my butt. But you had a male in your early life who told you can't do anything right. And they have alienated you from being able to pull in the skills and abilities you do have. You need to work on knocking that voice out of your head, because then you'll be able to move ahead. I don't know if, and that's a past life that would be affecting you now. And it would be especially affecting you right now because of what we're seeing on the screen every day. Okay. I'm going through looking for questions, guys, because
right underneath that question, Nancy Jean, was Anita at 123. Can you see what I was and what I did in my recent past life?
I'm going to use this method again because it's just really quick. When I used to do past lives on table, this was the method I used because it was the fastest way to do it. And I have a much more intense way of using cards that we're hoping I can learn the garden well enough to be able to do. Okay, in the past life, you had a lot of death and destruction around you. You had a lot of death and destruction around you. And like, I'm thinking, I don't know how old you are, but it was like World War I or World War II. Everything got blown away for you. And so in this life, you're starting some new things, but you've always had trouble with money, because I think somehow or another, the money you had in that life is what anchored you and kept you from doing what you could have done to save yourself. And yet you're really good with money when you want to be. And you have a chance of completely reconciling that life out of you. But it was a life where you went from extremely having a whole lot to losing everything. And I think there's still a part of you in this life that feels like, if I get everything, am I going to be able to hold on to it? It was a curse. You consider money a curse. Is that true at all? You can type something in at the bottom. This is for entertainment purposes only. You cannot sue me for what I'm saying.
You're so sweet. Tammy Jackson put a comment in that And I can't find her question, but she said she has a question about the Scotland past life.
Yeah, I saw her and her husband together in Scotland one day when I was playing
Okay.
with this stuff.
Just wondered
And
if
I
there was
told
any more
her
info on that.
she wrote me a note in comments, and when I looked it up, what I saw was she was in the role of the mother. I think you were his mother in Scotland. Okay. Epiphany Noel says, and this is kind of an odd comment. Tammy, does that give you enough information to start to think about it? Okay.
Where did
Okay, you in your past life you had nothing to lose. You know that old song, "When you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose." And that's kind of where you were. And so in this life, and you just sort of took off and did whatever you wanted to do. And I think you have a hard time. You have a lot of really good luck, but you have trouble reconciling yourself to your choices because this person just made choices without regards to what happened to other people around them. You've taken a different point of view. You don't want to hurt anyone. I think this person in the soul that was tied to these three cards really ended up screwing some people up. And you're still learning enough about your own abilities, and you don't want to run off the cliff like you did in that life. But you have a lot of good luck that comes to you, but you just have a hard time tying to it and accepting it. This shows you have a hard time with choices, but you're really very, very, very psychic, you know. But you know what they say in the traditional tarot, what Rider Waite, that little page is looking at a cup with a fish coming out of it. And people say, are you really seeing something wonderful in the world, or you just have a stinky dead fish in your cup, you know? And I think you have a hard time breaking out of that. Um, just okay, don't understand the next move in your mind. Understand the next move in your body. If it feels right, go for it.
Excellent. Dina at 1:34 your time says, may I ask if I was a little girl in the Holocaust?
Okay, 34. Oh, okay. Okay,
I love that I'm Nancy Jean's personal assistant today.
Yes,
Woo-hoo!
yes.
I love it.
Kelly knows how to do all this good stuff. Okay. Was Dana a little girl in the Holocaust? Yes, you were, and you didn't survive it. So these last couple weeks watching the news must have been freaking you out too. I died. I know for a fact. I died in a bombing in London, and it was an accident. And that's how I know all about that life, is because somebody tapped into it and said, you know, she was a Polish artist, and she kind of piggybacked into my life and lived the last years that she should have had through my life. So when I was a little kid, I painted watercolors that used to sell for hundreds of dollars. I was like in 4th and 5th grade, and people were like, "Oh my God, you paint all this big." And then there just came a point when I knew she wasn't there anymore, and I felt that, but I didn't know have anybody to talk to about it. So she went away and left me to have my own life. And
sorry.
So
Yeah,
anyway, but I knew her terror from her, and once I learned who she was and what happened to her, I got over it. But I was a child in the 50s when they used to blow off the air raid sirens once a week on Wednesdays to make sure everybody knew what they sounded like you could ever forget. And every time those happened when I was at school, I would get catatonic. I would just sit in my chair. I wouldn't move. I was just so terrified. And when I went to, my second husband was British, and he was a child in London during the war. He spent the better part of his youth outrunning Nazi bombs. And he was talking to me one time we were first dating, and he said, well, you don't know what it's like to be in a bombing, you know. So I called on that part of my life memory, and I started explaining what it was like in the cellar when it collapsed in and the smells and everything. And he said, stop. He said, I believe you. You were there.
Good grief. But how interesting, though, Nancy Jean, that you actually still paint now. And you just said, I don't know, it was like 2 shows ago that you were starting to paint again.
Yes, I am. I'm starting to do watercolors again,
which I just think is super interesting. You have a couple more questions if you're into
sure.
it. 1:35 your time, Valerie S. May I ask when I came in? It says when I came in / what?
I don't know how to answer that question. I don't understand it. Can you translate it for me, Kelly? Because it's not making sense to
I
me.
think she's asking, like, did she come in as a male or a female? So maybe those past life cards.
Okay. Let's see.
Or the pendulum, whichever you feel
I
compelled
don't
to.
know. We'll try. I think I'll have to use a pendulum. It's working pretty well today.
It is. It's all charged up.
It's all charged up and ready to go. Okay. I'm going to ask if you've had more lives as a male or female. Okay. Female. You've always been tied to more feminine energy, and that probably means you really feel like you're coming into your own now because you're we're going into the feminine divine.
Cool.
So you're going to fit in a whole lot better. You got anybody else?
Yep, 146, Kathy G. She's driving and listening, and she's wondering if her disabilities in this lifetime are related to a past life.
Okay. Yeah, don't drive off the road while you're listening to this. My pendulum chain got all screwed up. I don't understand how that could happen. It's never happened before. Okay, got it straight. Okay. Are her disabilities a function of a part of a past life? Yes. Okay. Did she choose to take this form to get past the karma from that time more quickly? Yes, and I just got a flash on this. Are you suffering from a disability you inflicted on someone else? Yes. You're making up for something you did to someone else that left them with, I don't know what your problem is. I don't know what, but whatever it is. Like if you've had a lot of trouble breathing in this lifetime, you may have strangled someone in a past life.
Yikes.
I know.
153 False Tooth Real Tarot.
Okay, the best name on the internet.
Right?
False Teeth Real Tarot. Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask if you've had a series of lives as a psychic. I just feel like that's a good question to ask for her.
Thank you kindly for your donation, Koltos. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Yes, you've been psychic. Okay. Were you a mystic in Asia? I don't know where that one came from. Yeah, you come out of the mystic traditions from Asia. That's why you have a clever sense of humor about being a mystic. Man, the ones that come out of the Middle Ages are so damn serious about it. Jeez.
You have a question here at 155 by Hello World.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "We love you, Nancy Jean. Could you read for my mom whatever you think?"
Okay. I'm going to do a quick read on what's going on around her right now. I think there's some confusion.
I'm gonna pull a card for her too.
Yeah. What's going on around her mom?
Wow. I don't know if you can see that. Hello World. I've got Bear.
Mm-hmm.
You are the light. And the message on the bottom of the card says, "It is safe to step fully into your light."
Yeah, your mom's been shedding a whole lot of people, and I think that's upset some people in the family, but she just had to get control of her own life because she needs to be in charge of it right now. And she's not letting them back in the boat. They're done. And it's because there's a man in her family and he's not upside down. You're seeing it backwards because of how my camera's set, but she really needs to create the space for herself, and she's fought long and hard to get there. So, hello world. Yeah, your mom's changing. She just needs to be left to grow up on her own.
I've got this card of stillness, which is just beautiful. Look at that. And so you know the majestic swan that swims across the top of the water, but the feet under the water are paddling like 1,000,000 miles an hour. And then I've got illumination. So tied with that other bear card that I've got, "You are the light." She is really stepping into her own power, which is just beautiful. Oops, sorry.
I just made your card big.
Yeah. So there you go. They're just gorgeous. So tell your mama, give her a big hug, and tell her, "Shine. Let the world see your sparkle, girlfriend." Beautiful.
Yep.
You had one more question here that I found, Nancy Jean, from Callie Suds 149. "Do you have time for me? My past life, if any, and my purpose," is the question.
Okay, wait a minute. 49.
Hopefully I didn't forget anybody.
Okay, you're catching them. Yeah, guys, I cannot tell you how hard it is to look through these when they're not in caps. And we do our best. And my purpose. Okay, I'm going to ask the pendulum, yes or no. Have you figured out if you've stumbled across that purpose? Because I got a feeling she thinks she has. Has Callie Suds begun to assimilate into her purpose? Yes, you have. And is the lessons from the past life the help? Because some lessons from our past lives is don't do that, and some are that's what you ought to do. So we're going to see if it's yes, you've recently run into a bunch of synchronicities that are telling you go this way. Go this way. And I'm going to pull a really quick past life card for you. And where was this past life? Give me some small details so Callie can see.
Okay, did you not just say the word details? I've got to attend to the details. So pay attention to the signs. It almost sounds like there's signs happening for you, and perhaps you're not understanding them or seeing them. So you can ask your guides to make the signs more clear to you. Not sure if you've ever tried that, but you literally can say, "I'm having trouble understanding. Can you make them more clear for me?"
Yeah.
And it especially works before you go to sleep, right?
Yep. Because then you dream it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this up so you can see it. It's trust and faith, and it's one of the beautiful angels saying, "Have trust and faith. You're getting your purpose." And It's coming out of a past life. And what happens is when you get those kind of feelings, it's usually because that's exactly what's happened. And let's see. Anita.
Hello World said that what you said about her mom sounds just like her. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol Lamb at 204. There you go. Look at
Okay.
that. That's psychic bounce right there, friends.
Yeah. Carol. Okay. Did Carol have a past life in China? Yes, you did. I'm going to ask if you were male or female because it makes a lot of difference in that part of the world. You were female. No, you're about evenly female and male. You've had several lives over there. And you carry a certain sensibility from that life. Born in a family station. You were there in the front line of imbalance. You wanted free will. You were affected by older people, and you were younger than they were. And they kind of reined you in. One of them.
Beautiful. She says, "Thanks. I've always felt I have always connected."
Yeah, that's one way you can tell. Is it's like, why do I know about this place? I mean, I've lived so many past lives in England that when I went there when I was 17, I could walk around the city of Old London. That's the part of London that's contained inside the walls. I could walk around and find streets and things without a map.
Wow.
And everybody kept saying, I said, no, it's this way. And they're like, you're not even looking at the map. And I said, yeah, but it's this way.
Super interesting. Kelly said I felt a little tug on my head when she had asked her question. So that's cool.
Okay, I'm going to post my email. And you can, if you want details on how to get the garden, and like I said, it's a totally new tool, guys. So there's nobody going to hand you a 300-page book saying do it this way. It's just me and Alma, just two women trying to make a living in this world. But like I said, it really is a lot of fun. It opens you up to a lot of things. Yeah, Tammy, I think you've been in Scotland more. But yeah, if you were his mother and you were star-crossed lovers, that's a whole nother problem. Anyway, I think we're at an hour, and I don't like to bore people more than that. I always rag on the poor astrologers because they never know when to shut up. So I'm going to end the broadcast, and thank you. I will be posting soon. I'm going to have another thing. It won't be public like this. It'll just be a session where 3 or 4 different people, we try to read them so I can get some parts I'm getting down and they're coming quicker. Other things are it just takes time. I mean,
it's a work in progress, right?
It's a work in progress. And thank you, Sue, for coming. And thank you, Rebecca, for trying to come. And thank you for Dozen Cats, because this has been a much more boring broadcast without you. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you.